I know you were the referee in that match in May 23rd, 1999, at the Over the Edge for the match with Owen, who, I know that you worked with him a lot. I had a chance to spend a lot of time with him. I thought he was one of the nicest people I ever met, and not just in wrestling. I really thought he was such a great guy and genuinely fun-loving. And, and as a guy that was a big ribber, but, what was different with him, Jimmy, is that they were fun-natured. It wasn't like it was mean-spirited, and they were, God, just so funny the way he did things. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't malicious. It wasn't like locking your bags together or doing anything.
Right. Just razoring your clothes or your pants or something. He just was really.
It was like calling up your hotel room, claiming to be the pizza guy in the lobby, waiting for you to come get your, stuff like that. It was, if you ever talk to Brett, Brett tells a story about Owen calling Stu and claiming to be Reggie Parks, who was an old school wrestler, and challenging Stu to a fight, and Stu getting all wired and stuff like that. It was even in the ring. Edge and Christian versus Owen Hart and Jeff Jarrett. We were in Germany, and it was a tag match, and we did the old Owen, pulling a foreign object out of his tights and hitting Edge with it behind my back, and Edge selling. We're doing the back and forth where he's passing it to Jeff, and I'm checking, and Christian's complaining, and Edge is selling like he's getting hit with brass knuckles and stuff. And we finally get to the end spot where he's got it hidden under his armpit, and I start to make him raise his arm. And when he raises his arm, it's a napkin. Edge is selling like he's hitting him with a ton of bricks, and when the napkin's floating to the ground, everybody just broke out laughing. It was like he's so much fun. He was so much fun.
He really was, just an awesome individual, and I always. I just thought he could have done so much more with the WWF, but with the Blue Blazer. I mean, he was just so talented. I just think it was just a matter of time. I thought before he would find like what was the right place for him, because he was so good in the ring, and such a gifted athlete too, and he could, he had it all. I thought, and it's just a damn shame. What happened, and taking you back to that day and that match, it seemed that, and we see it even today now, they just these things that surround the match are just getting bigger and bigger. And do you remember at the time, and I don't know how cued in you were to what they were going to do with this, but do you remember thinking like, wow, that's kind of dangerous, or just that's the way things were being done then, and it wasn't that unusual?
Pretty much the latter, because at the time Sting was doing something similar in WCW, rappelling from the ceiling and stuff like that. So for me, personally, for me, I couldn't do it because I have this fear of heights. Yeah. So I wouldn't be able to do something like that. But I didn't, It's easy to say in hindsight, oh, yeah, they shouldn't have done it. It was dangerous. Yeah. But at the time, you're not thinking like that. You're thinking, oh, here, this is part of the entertainment process of wrestling, and it's something that had been done before without incident. So you don't think that anything this terrible would happen. So, it was just a rough day all around. It was a tragic accident that happened, and it obviously, affected a lot of people that day.
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, the WWF, all the time I was there, whenever Vince did something, it wasn't like they would go get somebody who really didn't know what they were doing. You always felt like they had these true professionals. If they had pyrotechnics or anything, they brought people in that really knew what they were doing. So I'm sure that there was a level of trust there that, and like you said, it was just a tragic accident. But from your perspective, tell me what happened that day.
See, I don't know the particulars, but from where I was, basically before that match was to take place, they had a hardcore match. I want to say it was Al Snow and Hardcore Holly maybe, where they fought all over the place. There was like debris in the ring, broken tables and stuff like that. So I ran out for the match and also was helping him like clear some of the debris from the ring. kicking stuff out of the ring, and I was actually working my way towards that corner where Owen ultimately fell. And I was holding the top rope, kicking some stuff out, and I heard some. They had the promo of the Blue Blazer playing on the screen on the big Tron, and while we were cleaning up, and all of a sudden I heard somebody yell. I didn't hear what. I just heard a yell, and in an instant, I felt something brush the side of my head, and the top rope snapped out of my hand and snapped back and hit me in the fingers. And first thing that came to my mind was, oh my God, the top rope just broke for no reason, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm looking around, and the top rope is there, and then I turn and I see Owen lying in the ring, and I'm like, like I'm not processing 2 and 2. I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
And so his eyes are still wide open, but there's no response, and so I just started freaking out and calling Mark at the Mark Yaten at the timekeeper stable, calling for help, and that's basically what happened. From my standpoint, that's what I saw. That's all I saw. And like as far as what happened up there, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just and then they had me go along to the hospital just because I was, like, I guess, in a state of shock, I guess, for lack of a better term, just to make sure that mentally I was okay, I guess. And this is the funny part. The next day, this was Kansas City, and the next day we were in St. Louis, and I still don't remember to this day going from Kansas City to St. Louis. Yeah, it's just a blur in my mind. I just don't remember it. I don't remember traveling there. And the next day, I was talking to Jerry Lawler, and Lawler said, he said, "You okay?" And I said, as okay as I'm going to be. He says, "My God," he says, "you don't know how close you came." And I said, "Close to what?" He said, he saw about the last 15, 20 feet of Owen's fall. And the first thing that he thought in his mind was that he was going to fall on top of me. And I'm not trying to make this I'm just saying how close this was. And he couldn't tell that whether it was his arm or what that brushed against the side of my head. And that's what I felt.
Wow.
He said, if you'd have been a foot over, he said the tragedy would have been a lot worse. And I'm like, oh my goodness.